Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure and this is the Colonel Reduced for July 2019. July. Yeah, it's where are we? Mid-month. Apologies for the delay, but I'm sure you know already, I was in Berlin for a couple of days, and that kind of threw everything completely out of whack. And then I moved house, and work is mayhem at the moment. So there's an awful lot going on, which leads me to have a little bit less time than I'm perhaps used to. Well, unconventionally, we're pointing in a slightly different angle to usual. I've finally got my new lighting setup done, but I'm not yet thrilled with its placement. So we're pointing at a slightly different angle today, which is good in that it means that I can talk directly to you without interference. Lots of good because it means all my information's over here somewhere, so I end up looking off yonder when the need arises. So let's crack on with today's endeavour and see where we end up. I've got a fair chunk to get through. So let's start with the numbers. We're rapidly coming up on 42,000 subscribers, which is very nice indeed. And in terms of where does that put us in the grand scheme of things on an annualized basis? Where are we? Right, okay, in 2014, the year that I started, and I'm coming up next month is my 5-year anniversary from having started this malarkey. In 2014, over the whole of 2014, I put out 63 videos and achieved 57 subscribers in total. 57, count them. You can, on almost two hands. And 5,000 views altogether. An inauspicious start, but everyone starts somewhere, and unless you have black magic going on in terms of what you're making, that gets shared by all and sundry and end up being seen, the world around. Well, you're gonna start slowly until you find your thing. And it took me a little while to find my thing, and arguably I've still not quite found it. In 2015, the second year of running, I gained 914 subscribers. Clearly had a bit more going on there, and made 146,000 views. Aha! Now see, that's evidence that you've actually got some semblance of an idea with regard to what you're doing. In 2016, the biggie, 11,400 new subscribers. Thank you, Transport Fever. And 1.4 million new views on the channel. And that's what comes from being incredibly shark-like when it comes to the launch of a game where you've already got some authority built up. You're going to get a big push from it. Will Transport Fever 2 do the same thing? Ooh, I'm not sure. Partly due to me revealing the secret weapons that I've used, and partly because YouTube folk are becoming smarter all the time. I won't have no competition this time. There will be competition all over the place. The good news is they're having to go into bat against me. So unless they're bringing something to the party that I'm not, I'll probably still do all right out of it. But hey, I'm perfectly happy to be overtaken by someone who's smarter, younger, funnier, thinner, more prolific, whatever than I am. It just means that I need to up the tempo, up my game a little bit. On to 2017, 9,600 new subs. Solid, nothing wrong with that, and 2.8 million views, so double the number of views of the previous year. Good darts. 2018, 9,900 new subscribers. Ooh, only slightly better. 2018 was not a great year for the progress of the channel. As much as we carried on growing, it was at a lesser rate than perhaps would have demonstrated, strong growth. But I did 3.4 million views on the channel that year, so that's good. Strong extra views going on. Now, we turn around to the year that we're in right now. We're just over halfway through the year. And we're at 9,700 new subscribers. So you can already get the sense that record Yeah, we're gonna break the record. Right now, I'd have to really half-ass it to avoid beating the 11,400 in a year record. Various Zen-like folk who I have spoken to, who have a great deal of experience in the tubing, have said previously that actually, once you get to kind of 50,000, you're off and you're rolling. And I have noticed historically, maybe less so these days, but certainly when I was starting out, is that there does seem to be an injection of growth that happens when you hit various milestones. So at 500, I took off quite quickly with subscribers. That is, took off quite quickly compared to where I was doing before. And then at 1,000, it was faster still. At 5,000, it was faster still. So yeah, there is some evidence that that hitting a landmark of that kind can make something of a difference. What I would say, however, is that Catherine the Sky, who many of you will be aware of, she passed 50,000 18 months ago, something like that, and she hasn't really grown much since then. But I think part of what's limiting her at the moment, because her style and tone is really, really good, but part of what's limiting her is her game selection, and I don't think she's maybe broadening as much as she could do in order to grow a little bit faster. But she's up in the 90s last time I checked, but not going super quick. Skystorm is another good example in that he passed 100,000 subs. Ooh, really not that long ago, actually, and he's up to like 160, 170 already. So there is evidence that once you hit these big milestones that you do kind of go upwards. But it's on me, fundamentally. I've got to keep putting out the right stuff, and I've got to keep improving on the tone that I use and the quality of editing and the quality of output that comes out the far side. So far this year, I've done 2.9 million views. That puts us into as the second biggest year I've had. I think 5 million views this year is within reach. Good. Excellent. Everything is going in the right direction. I'm not. If you've been watching a few of these, you'll know that I ebb and flow between gotta get on it, and no, it's all fine. Everything's fine. It's all good. And right now, I'm in a no. It's all fine. Everything's fine. It's all good. I could do with some slightly stronger material to propel things forward a little bit better, but actually the mix of a series or two that is performing nicely, with occasional stuff that's different that I do just to amuse myself, is making me certainly very happy as a creative entity. It's giving me enough to kind of go, yeah, I've kind of sunk my teeth into that. That's all good. So yeah, so we're on track for this year to be a pretty good one. In terms of overall performance. How good remains to be seen. Certainly, the release of the Transport Fever 2 features video last week is going to make a big impact. At the time of recording, which is now, it's done around 27,000 views, and to put that into some kind of perspective, my benchmark is. Well, it's 10%, right? If a video I put out doesn't achieve 10% of the number of subscribers that I've got in its first week, I should consider flinging it in the wood chipper, because it's not doing anything to actively drive the channel forward in any way. So 27,000, 50% of my subscribers, well, over 50%, probably 65% of my subscribers in the first week. Very nice. And it's still got a day and a half to go as well. And TF2's press event has not had a lot of press coverage yet, which is very good, because it means the only people who are finding my video right now are the Transport Fever loyalists. So we'll see how that goes. On a related note, I'm going to be on Skystorm's stream tomorrow night. He invited me to be on his stream. Oh, I wonder why that is. Possibly to get himself a card in that I have some behind the scenes knowledge on TPF2. It's all good. I doubt very much that the people who watch his Transport Fever stuff aren't aware of me. I'm that prolific that I turn up in search on a regular basis. But actually being on his stream, that'll be quite good fun. So that's Sunday night, Sunday the 14th. I'll be on Sky's stream, unless the world caves in before then. Can't rule that out. So Berlin, that's the first one I've ever been invited to, and that was great. If you followed the adventure on your mobile telephone there, the only place you can view stories, I believe the only place you can view stories is on mobile. You might be able to access the mobile side of things via the web, but I don't know the link to do so. Those videos will have disappeared by now because they only last for 7 days. I don't get it, but that's what it is. It's a YouTube feature designed to compete with the likes of Instagram and Snapchat and those kinds of things, and it's fine. I enjoy recording them 30 seconds at a time, and I never do just one. I always do like 5 or 6 back to back because I can't get everything I want to say in 30 seconds. 30 seconds at a time is a bit of a challenge, but I quite like that as a kind of a limiting factor to what you can record. So that's all good. The Berlin event was great. It was quite straightforward. I've obviously, based on my career and the games that I've worked on, I've been on the other side of probably 20, 30 of those kinds of events. And when you work on a AAA title, the amount of money you throw at them is just ridiculous. So very, very swanky and top-notch hotels and blackened rooms with neon lights all over that, all of that kind of jazz. And this one was, a cheap, cheerful, and very clean hotel in Berlin, which was right next to the station. I only got there at like 2 a.m. Thank you, Ryanair. Before getting back up to do the event at 8 a.m. Stagger across the train. Just being on an older train that has been it hadn't even been decked out particularly. It was just an older train, but the buffet car was operational. It had some very nice currywurst in that way that you have to if you're not a German resident. Currywurst is kind of mandatory, or they don't let you back out of the country. And getting to play the game while on the train and talking to the devs and that kind of stuff. It was nice. It was a really nice event and definitely suited to the game, I guess, an atmosphere. Yeah, very nice. But yeah, first time I've done one of those, and it was good. I'd probably go to another one, but it really depends on the title. I'd like to go to a Paradox one, even though I don't cover Paradox stuff for the reason that I've mentioned. I don't cover Paradox stuff, although part of me kind of goes, "Come on, man, you can do Stellaris. You can make Stellaris a sensation." I'm sure of it, or maybe Crusader Kings 2. But I haven't got the time to sink into either game. Stellaris I know very well. Crusader Kings 2, I don't know it well enough. I've tried it numerous times, but I can't seem to get a handle on what are you supposed to be doing. What is the gameplay? I've tried starting out in Ireland and aggressively trying to attack my neighbours, but it seems that generating new troops and actually doing anything with them is a pain in the bum. I get the soap opera side of things, but it doesn't seem like you've got huge control over it. It's a bit weird, and I don't have a handle on it yet. I should do. It should be the kind of game that really tickles my fancy, and it does. I've got a heck of a lot of DLC for it, but I keep bouncing off it after I'll play 3-4 hours and I go not having a bad time, but at the same time not feeling like I'm actually playing it. But yeah, there is gold in the hills for he or she who is first to find a way to make one of those games worth flipping watching. Never mind playing, got to make it worth watching. It's not a good game to watch, like Civilization. The only people that watch Civilization videos are doing so to learn from a maestro. Je suis not a maestro, and therefore It's got to be an entertainment thing, and it's going to come down to how it's edited, how it's packaged, how it's put together to decide whether you can make an entertainment prospect out of what is quite a dry visual game experience. I'll tell you one thing though, if I did go in that direction, that would make the channel. That would you know, there's 100,000 subs in that. Getting that right and absolutely nailing it, there's 100,000 subscribers just waiting to happen. Can't get my head out of it. But then, you see, I have become Train Guy, despite my continued protestations about, but I don't really want to be Train Guy. But the seat is empty, and therefore I've kind of sat in it and gone, like, I appear to be stuck in this chair now. It's fine. I like train games just fine. I enjoy them. I like a train, as you know. But not to the extent that I've got any kind of depth of knowledge in the slightest. But there you go. How much does this endeavour make? Sorry, it's my notes. Right, next. I've talked about this possibly last month, possibly the month before. I'm toying with the idea of doing a how much does this channel earn video. For a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think it's quite good to show the disparity between various earnings. So last month, for example, from the views that the channel served up, and that was, did I really? Well, I never. 566,000 views, so 500,000 views last month, and that made $800 in ad revenue. Is that high? Is that low? Well, what I will tell you is that if I'd done those kinds of numbers in 2012 on YouTube, that would have been worth $5,000. So you can see why those who got started early on stuck with it, because the amount that AdSense was paying at the time was just amazing. These days, it really does struggle. I mean, it's still... And actually, no, I was about to describe it as free money, but it's not free money. There's a lot of graft goes into this. And as much as I love it, and I'm having a great time doing it, there's a lot of graft goes into it. Yeah, I mean, would I do it for free? Yeah, if I was financially independent, I probably would do. But that would involve me no longer having any kind of aspirations with regard to, here's how I'm going to make my first billion. Well, okay, I think I might be a little bit late to the party in making my first bit. Can't rule it out. I could come up with something tomorrow. I don't think it's likely, but there you go. But yeah, if I no longer had any kind of a charge towards onwards and upwards and brighter and bigger, then yeah, I probably would do it for fun, because a significant part of what makes it enjoyable is knowing that you guys are watching it and getting the feedback from you and being able to talk to you about, you know, what's going on and so on. And but then you see the numbers, they go from there to getting a little bit bigger, to getting a little bit bigger, to getting a little bit bigger. And that's a real motivator. You can't look at it on a micro fashion. I mean, certainly if you have a big hit video that just kind of goes whoosh, that's always wonderful. But what's more encouraging is when the videos you're doing this month are achieving 10% more on average than they were 2 months ago, or you know, you're noticing that there is a gentle up curve occurring. And that up curve, it is limited by seasonality. So there are times of year where it grows faster and times of year where it grows slower. But an awful lot of it is driven by you and what you're actually putting out, as is so often the way. So yeah, so from AdSense I made $800 last month. From Patreon it was $2,000. Yeah, see, I mean that's enormous. There's a massive gulf going on there immediately. And then from YouTube backers there was a further 500 on top of that as well. So it's 300 on top of that as well. From Scale About, there was another like 50 or 60, and because I just launched the new t-shirt Vendatorium, there was another $150, $200 from that as well. So you add all of that together and you kind of go, well, you're up in around the 3,200, 3,300 mark. And I go, this is solid. What's my magic number? Well, at the moment, it's somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 a month. And that's purely because I can't, in all good conscience, I could probably just about squeak by on what I make from YouTube. But squeaking by is not putting aside for a rainy day. It's not pension preparation. It's not contributing above and beyond what I do on the rent. Herself and I, we move so often we don't own a house. Now, I mean, that doesn't make us a special poverty case or anything like that. We both have a very good living. But we don't own anywhere. And therefore it means that at some point someone is going to stop employing us, and then we've got to find the cash to pay for that from somewhere. Because ageism is a thing, and eventually there are so many young folk there sat there waiting to take your gig that they'll take someone who is cheaper rather than someone who is more expensive. Herself will be fine, actually. Touch wood, make sign of warding. She'll be fine because she's migrated away from the kind of middle management, juniors, all of that kind of stuff. She's now senior management, so she's a vice president. So her next steps have all got a C at the front of them. So chief marketing officer, chief operational officer, chief executive officer. Those are all ahead of her, and she's very smart. See, that's the thing. So but Muggins here, no, I'm a troublemaker. I don't play well in teams because I like doing things my way. And that doesn't mean to say that my way is wrong. My way is extremely good. But nobody is prepared to pay the kind of money that I have built up to earning through veterancy and experience. Neil Murphy, who's a Bad Company regular, put a great Scale About question to me last week, along the lines of, which gig in the games industry would you most like? There's only one. I want Valve to phone me up and go, fix our community, because that's a big job, that one. And I go, yeah, I'd do that, because you don't look for, and the salary wouldn't have any meaning at all. It would be, come on, I want to conquer Everest. Give me the tough stuff there. But I can't take my hands off. I have to have my hands on or I have to have a level of hands on in order to really do what I'm best at. And actually, YouTube is kind of the manifestation of a lot of what I'm best at. So yeah, right. So backing up. So yeah, I can't, in all good conscience, kind of go like, yeah, all right, I'm going to take a 60-70% pay cut and go and do this full time. Because even were I to go full time right now, my growth rate wouldn't get any faster. That's the problem. Is it wouldn't. I would have to be putting out 3-4 videos a day, maybe, or no, let's say 2. Let's say I doubled my output. Well, firstly, the views wouldn't go up double. That wouldn't happen because I would cannibalize the views that I'm getting on some stuff, and I would have to have a focus on cover new games, do more covering of new games in order to make any kind of a headway on that at all. But it's going in the right direction. And last month I did a special kind of call out for more backers, and it worked. Firstly, that's great. And if you are one of those people who saw the call out last month and jumped on board, you are amazing. But yeah, but part of me just kind of goes, oh, I wish I could just get people to sign up without having to do some kind of special message or or, you know, excessive advertising, because it always feels a little bit unclean to be kind of going like, please, sir, chuck a fiver in the bucket. Because it's not why you do it. But honestly, if I can just keep the hammer down and get a few more people on board. I mean, honestly, if 50% of the people who watched every Transport Fever video were to kick in a fiver a month, I'd be set. I'd be sorted. I would be going, thank you very much for this employment. I now work for myself. Thank you. So it's, you know, and $5 a month for anybody who's working routinely and is not hovering around the breadline. And I realise there are a lot of people who are breadline hovering. I've been there myself. I have every sympathy. Well, you know, it's not a massive amount to ask. Stop trying to... it makes me feel really uncomfortable because this is not what I'm about. It really isn't. Right, okay, let's round this off by just saying, new Patreon video. I've got to make one. The Patreon video that is advertising the bad company stuff is the one that I made when I originally set it up 3 years ago. It's ancient. Oh, it's not bad, but it's just ancient. And frankly, I should do a better one than that. Right, let's get on to talking about games, shall we? We talk about games. So, Transport Fever Peninsula. It's got to the good bit. 20 episodes in, and we're at the good stuff now. It's making enough money that I can keep trundling along with that perfectly. And right now, looks like all of the ducks are lining up in a row so that I can wrap up Peninsula at the same time as I'm starting on TPF2 later this year. No, I don't have the release date. I tried to get the release date. They wouldn't give me a release date. So it's going to be when it's ready, Q4, which, for those of you in the industry, will know is called The Window. And it's called The Window because that's when you put out your AAA game. So it's a terrible time of year for games like Transport Fever to release, because they're going up against the next Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty and FIFA and Madden and Racing Game and platform exclusive and whatever Xbox are using to hopefully sell more consoles this Christmas. It's the window. That's when typically you will make more than... you'll make a third of your annual income in the games industry, but the traditional kind of box product-y games industry. You'll make a third of your income in the last 3 weeks of the year. Right? It's not insignificant. So going up against that is maybe not the most financially shrewd, but they sold 500,000 copies of the first one. So you know, they're in decent shape. Hopefully I can get a bit of early access to it again and then hit the ground running. But I'm going to have a lot of competition this time. I can think of at least 10 to 15 channels that are going to be, you know, chomping at the bit to get in there first. I'm not going to say don't do it, because I certainly would do. Kind of go, no, stuff you, mate. If I can beat you, I will. And Skystorm as well. You know, I don't think Sky is going to pass the opportunity to be out there front and centre early on. So that means I'm going to have to up my game. I'm ready. I'm nearly ready. Right, moving on. Soviet Republic. I'm going to put it on the back burner for a bit. Couple of reasons. Firstly, I feel like I'm caught in a bit of a rut stylistically with those videos. It doesn't feel like there is a narrative that pushes forward. So Transport Fever, despite I've done 400 and some odd of those videos, it always feels like each series has a storyline that develops as I move through it. And despite the fact that Soviet Republic develops in a very similar way, it doesn't feel like that storyline is really emerging. So what I'm intending to do is stop it for a couple of weeks, but play a bunch. I mean, when I say a bunch, I mean like, you know, 10, 15, 20 hours, and really start to develop the map, and then return with a kind of a tour guide through what's being developed. But also then start to look at it on a can I build something a bit more dramatic out of this kind of an approach. That's where I'm at with it at the moment. I mean, it's actually a bit risky, because Soviet Republic's been a very nice view driver for me. It's easing off a little, but everything always eases off over time. Rarely do you get something that becomes more successful with each new video. You tend to start strong at part 1 and then diminishing returns throughout the rest of the series. Transport Fever is the only one that really has held up over time. I need to do more train simulator stuff, and my train sim videos are the gift that keeps on giving in terms of driving the channel forward. And I think it's because I've seen one other channel try a light-hearted approach to covering them, and he's done it in a way that I find personally really grating. Some people might find it, entertaining and charming and so forth. I don't doubt that I grate on people. I bounced off it hard. I went, dude, you are trying way too hard to try and make this funny. And also, that thing you just said was funny wasn't funny. Using a quirky sound effect and a zany camera angle did not do it. I'm one of a handful at most of channels doing train simulator in a light-hearted fashion, and I think I've also got kind of the patent pending on passenger announcements. Yeah, I know. It's good stuff, isn't it? Isn't it good stuff? Right, then moving on. Voxel Tycoon. Now, I'm torn on Voxel Tycoon. It's I like the looks of it. There's not enough game in there yet, but several of you Kernel School folk would do well to listen to what I'm about to say. I think Voxel Tycoon could be the replacement for all those people still playing Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe, or Open TTD, as it's known. I think that as they develop it through early access, they will have built the replacement. Secondly, the map can be extended infinitely in any direction, which means you'll be able to get to the point of building a network that is as big as your computer can handle. This means it has the opportunity to present a 100, 200 episode series, if not longer, or an endless series where you are just remodeling and expanding and remodeling and expanding endlessly, constantly. Now, if you can keep a high level of entertainment while doing that, and a high level of enthusiasm for yourself, that series will print views and subs from now until the end of the next decade. It's got that kind of potential to it if they can nail the game. Starting again is not going to do you any favours, because it's a little bit too mechanical. It's like Factorio in that sense, in that first you build this, then you build that, then you build this, then you build that, and then maybe you've got a grand scheme somewhere that's interesting. Maybe. But yeah, and that's my feel on Voxel Tycoon. So I'm going to continue covering it for now. I'm going to go back to Overcrowd probably week after next. I think so. Yeah, because I've got something coming up this week. I've got Railway Empire is making a brief return this week. I've got some early access to a new thing that they're doing. We like early access and new things they're doing, and plus Railway Empire does really well on my channel, despite the fact that, I'm not a huge fan of the game. Where are we? It's averaging 10,000 views per video. Remember the old 10% rule? Yeah, it doubles that. Now, I've only put out 14 videos, but it averages 10,000 a video. So I'm going to be covering that this week. And then migrating. Now, the other new thing that I'm bringing in this week is Atlas. If you've got your wits about you, you will have read the post immediately below this one. And it doesn't matter if you're on Patreon, and it doesn't matter if you're on YouTube. The post immediately below this one explains what's coming this week. Atlas is the new Bad Company game. Typically, for those of you who have not witnessed a Bad Company game previously, it is a survival open world type game of some description, and that we play it collaboratively. Now, the problem with playing collaboratively is that once you're past the urge to survive stage of things, it gets a bit boring because there's no real challenge left. 7 Days to Die was the first one that did a good job. Eco was also jolly good fun. So this will be the third. I'm not missing one, am I? No, I've covered others. There's a good sized group of people playing Conan Exiles at the moment, and I covered that with Stegs for like only 4 episodes or so. And then Stegs decided he had to go and get a job that wouldn't let him record videos anymore. So there's a good group playing Conan at the moment, but they're on the verge of kind of wrapping up with it, so I didn't want to step on their toes too much because they're having too much fun and I don't want to be the person that stops them having fun. I covered Ark previously, and if you've played Ark, Atlas is pretty much the same game but with more pirate ships and fewer dinosaurs. That's all you need to know. Oh, plus magic's in this one, and dragons and stuff. It is a little bit buggy. It will crash when you're doing something completely mundane. I did a quick test run of it yesterday to kind of audition it to see if it was the right game for us. And I had a crash while harvesting some grass, which just made me go, but I've harvested like 500 grass. Why this time? Why was this grass the problem that caused the problem? Anyway, it looks quite good. And the change that we're making, read the post below, is that we're actually going to have PvP on for this one. Now, we always have friendly fire PvP, but in this one it will be deliberate, purposeful PvP action occurring. So there are rules attached to it, and anybody who is on the PvP pirate team, I expect them to not wreck anyone's fun. That's the important thing. The problem with PvP versus PvE players, so this is player versus player, for those of you who do not speak the parlance freely. These kinds of games, on a usual human public server, anyone is allowed to murder anybody at any point. And you kind of go, oh, okay, all right, so it can be a bit dangerous. No, because you get some people who take all of their fun from wrecking the fun of other people. So you get things like that, and this is what griefing is. Griefing is not just attacking another person. Griefing is purposefully trying to wreck the fun of that person. Now, that person might not want to be attacked ever, and they kind of go, oh, they're griefing me, they're taking my fun. You kind of go, no, they're not, they're just attacking you. But if they then kill you again when you respawn, and then they follow you back to your shed, and they knock that down and take all your stuff and then kill you again, and then they kill you again and again and again, and that's griefing. That is purposefully causing you grief. That is going above and beyond. The PvP that we're aiming to, the other side of the coin is PvE only, player versus environment. So you're only allowed to attack monsters and bears and bunny rabbits. And that's fine up to a point. And that point comes where you've got a high-end base and you're tooled up with all the good gear, and you're making food in such quantities that you no longer need to worry about it. Well, when the challenge is gone, the fun of the game has gone. And the real problem with these games is that when you first get hooked on one, you just want to play tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. And the big problem with them is they get less enjoyable the more you play, because the challenge is going out of it all the time. You know, that big thing you wanted to build, well, once you build it, what are you going to do now? Yeah. So that's a bit of a problem. So yeah, we're instituting PvP, but they will conduct themselves with honour, or I will drop a train on them. By which I mean, yeah, you might have a pirate ship come and sink you while you're out fishing. Fine, that's pirates for you. Damn those guys. They might wade into the collaborative human complex, blow up the dock, knock a big hole in someone's house, go steal all the good stuff and then leg it again. That's fine. That is basically a raid from a bunch of pirates. What they won't do is come in, level the place, steal everything, spawn kill everybody 15 times and then leave. Of course, what's more likely to happen is the first time they turn up, they get absolutely hammered by everybody who sat there waiting for them and rigged up nothing but cannons along the port side. I couldn't honestly tell you which way it's going to go, but I'm kind of leaning in the second way. Depends how inventive our pirates are. So if you want to jump in on that, my first episode's going up on Friday next week, which will be the 19th. Yeah. and then on Saturday, or yeah, probably Saturday, maybe Sunday, we'll do the first big multiplayer live stream. I'll get access to people beforehand so that they won't be coming at it like, you know, completely new. If you've got the game already, feel free to learn how to play it and all of that kind of stuff. But I'll open the server on stream day. Okay, I will have been in for a couple of hours beforehand to do my kind of warm-up video. The pirate team will be setting sail after the what I'm calling the civilized team. The civilized team will go first to find an island, and once they've done so, the pirate team will go find theirs. And the pirate team can be eliminated once the civilized people hunt them down and blow up their totem pole. Don't know what the totem pole looks like yet. We will decide that when the time comes. Right, moving on. Kerbal Space Program. I'm loving it. I'm loving Kerbal Space Program. I think it's going to get a little bit more tricky to keep the entertainment level high without a chunk of editing here and there. But that's okay. I'm having that much fun doing it that I'm going to persist with it. Let me know in a comment or something such whether you're digging it. We're coming up on the 10 episode kind of marker, which traditionally is where I transition into a new season of whatever, and that's because Motorsport had 10 races in a season. I'm going to keep going with this one till, well, whichever happens first, episode 20, or I get bored, and then we'll go on to something else, or I'll offer a vote up again. If you want a second season of Kerbal, then we can certainly do that. But I'm loving it at the moment. Right, 2 more things. Merch. I've got some new stuff coming. I know. Also, discount code didn't work. I've got a pretty good idea why it didn't work. I'm going to try it again this time around. The way Teespring operates, who are the power behind my merch store, is they treat everything in a one product range as one campaign. And it's weird. It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand why they would do it that way, but that's the way they do it. So they wait until the end of the campaign window and then they print everything at once. That's their approach, which I guess makes sense for them because it means that they're not printing one of this and one of that and one of those, and from another channel they're printing one of these and one of the... It means that they're going to go like, right, we're printing 3 of those and 4 of these and so forth. But I've got a new design coming up, and that will be out soon-ish. Soon-ish. I will retire the Bulldoze Everything design for a couple of months. It will be back. Unless I think a design sucks, it will always be back for another go. But I want to rotate stuff around, basically. I'm going to try it and see how we get on. I'm not trying to flog you a Bulldoze Everything t-shirt now. If you've got the cash and you want one, get one. But it will be back. Don't worry, it'll be back. But I just want to try and narrow the focus. And I think the error in judgment I made the first time around is trying to do too much. I think in the future I'll have maybe 3-4 different things and just going to go, bosh, there it is, do that for a month, and then we'll switch out and put a new one up. Last but not least, if you have not joined us over on Discord, you are missing out. On a daily basis, we have a ton of different conversations go on about every subject under the sun, apart from politics and religion. Right? So it's light-hearted stuff. It is genuinely enjoyable, and I can't recall the last time that there was any kind of an argument whatsoever that wasn't solved within 10 seconds when someone said, sorry. There's always a couple hundred people in there and chatting away. And if you're not a member yet, maybe you've never used it before, it's a text chat room. That's all it is, right? But it also has the opportunity to use a microphone and do voiced comms when you're in a game and that kind of stuff. If that's not your bag, don't use it like that. But come in and join the textual chat all fun. And who knows when you will next find yourself immersed in a challenge game of farming sim or whatever. Farming sim, someone was talking about that this morning actually, and I said, yeah, that's pretty normal. Anyway, there you go. That's your lot. Quite a lot this month. I've left the link to Discord somewhere in the description somewhere. If you're coming from Patreon, and you use the same email address to register on Discord, it will automatically assign you all the right stuff. Regrettably, YouTube is not integrated in the same way, so when you arrive, you will be in the lobby, and all you need to say is code purple. Code purple. And you'll get all of the access that you need. Pay attention, though. What I've seen a few times is people turn up, they go, code purple, and then they leave. And you kind of go, oh, yeah, you've got all the stuff now, but that was the last time we saw them. It will take a little while before you get access. It depends. There are 4 people who administrate that server, including myself, and it requires one of them to be around in order to grant access. So have a bit of patience, load it back up again and see what happened. Right, I've been Colonel Failure. Thank you very much for your support. It really is much appreciated. And I'm not a big mercenary. I just want to do more of this and get better at it. And we're getting there, you know? We're getting there. And I think collectively we're all having fun. Right, I'm off. Cheerio.